want to talk about an individual who had great influence on me. This man is named Denmark Jensen. He retired as a full colonel after 30 years of service in the United States Army. And part of his service early on in his career was in the battlefields of the Pacific Theater against the Japanese forces that attacked Pearl Harbor on the 7th December 1941. He was a student in the ROTC program in Moscow, Idaho, when that attack happened, and was commissioned in the Army not long after that attack. We learned that the Japanese, after the attack on Pearl Harbor, moved into the Aleutians, and it was feared by the United States leadership that they were doing that to set up small airports that they could move military aircraft to and potentially attack Alaska and then move on down the west coast of the United States. When U.S. forces got there and moved in on the 11th of May, Denmark was part of that initial infantry body. And the way the infantry operates is when they're moving inland, they have scouts out in front of the main body to determine where enemy positions or ambush points might be. And as the scouts from Denmark's platoon were moving forward, he told me that Japanese machine gun fire opened up, killing one of the two scouts instantly and severing the arm of the second one, mortally wounding him, and not dying immediately, but as he lay there mortally wounded, crying and calling for the help of his friends and comrades who had never seen combat before. I mean, these were kids from the western United States off farm fields like Denmark. And suddenly, they train together and then they get thrown into combat, and two of their friends, or one is killed, the other mortally wounded. And so as infantry are trained, the platoon scattered for cover. They all looked at Denmark, who was their leader, as to, what are we going to do? We can't just leave our friend out there screaming and writhing in pain. We need to do something to try to help him. And Denmark knew that an attempt would need to be made to give him some kind of help or aid, but he also knew that to send any of his men out there would certainly lead to their death as well. So he made an instant decision that if anybody was going to go out, it was going to be himself and not one of his men. He was raised in a good home with strong Christian beliefs and values. And so knowing that he would need the protection of the Almighty if he were to even make it himself, he told me that he offered a prayer and then running, dodging, jumping, crawling, moved towards the position of this wounded soldier. When he got to the soldier, he said the soldier looked at him in his eyes and said, "Thank you, sir, for coming to get me." He said, "I knew you wouldn't leave me alone to die on the battlefield in this condition." Denmark picked the wounded soldier up, who weighed well over 200 pounds, he told me, slung him across his shoulders and back, picked up his severed arm, and he said, as I started to move back towards the rear of our lines where I knew I could take him to a medical station to get help, he said the bullets were kicking up around me. But he said they didn't hit me, and he said, I believe the reason they didn't hit me was there were three individuals that provided a protective enclave around me. So he said he saw the presence of his mother, his sister, and a male individual he'd never seen before, that later he believes was his guardian angel. As he's moving back to the lines with this wounded soldier, he believes they protected him from being hit by machine gun fire. When Denmark got the wounded soldier back to the aid station, the soldier passed away. When he told his mother of this experience, she said, yes, on that very day, your sister and I were talking, and even though we were in separate places, we felt on that day, at that time, that your life was in great danger, and so we prayed for your safety. And she said, this tells me that our prayers were answered and that your life was spared. And then he went on to serve in the Pacific till the end of the war, to include Okinawa, where he was wounded in that final bloody battle. A great man with a great legacy, with a great family.